What's up guys, Marvelous Marc here, and I'm here to bring you my review for The Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 3, Tell It to the Frogs. I thought this episode was a very solid episode. It was very slower paced than I believe the last two episodes, but it was still good. It gave it forwarded the story a little more, and it gave more in depth into the characters, and we met new characters that we didn't know about, such as Carol, Sophia, Ed. We get to see more of Dell. Jim's there too. That's basically it. More characters. There's other characters in the back that we really haven't got to know. I don't think we're gonna get to know them at all. But let's get through the episode from the beginning. The first part of the episode, we get to see Merle. He's on the roof. He's basically talking to himself, like he's talking to like war stories basically with himself, but he's talking to another person in his head. But he's just from the sun, is messing with his head, and he's just thinking about other things. He's trying to get his mind off that his hand is handcuffed against a pipe. But he comes to realize that he's there and there's no way of getting out. But he starts asking God, like, can you help me, please, please. But nothing's happening, and Merle starts to really just diss God basically and say, I never needed you, I don't need you now, I can do this myself basically. And Merle, there was a hatchet there, I believe, a hatchet. And later on in the episode, I'll tell you what happens, because just in case you're a first time viewer of The Walking Dead, I'll let you know what happens way later in the episode. Well, okay, next part is Rick and the survivors. They make it back to the camp, and Rick, of course, he's just looking for his family. He doesn't know that his family is there. So he just gets out of the van, just like he doesn't know. He really didn't know what was going to happen. But he got out of the van and he reunited with his family, Lori and Carl. He sees them there, and it was a beautiful scene. It was a really touching scene that we all got to actually see. And it's kind of weird too, because there's a Shane there too, because he's not with Lori anymore, but he was just like a few hours ago. And Shane is just there looking on, and then Lori looks at him like in disbelief basically. Later down that night, there's like a campfire they're having. They're just basically, Rick's telling them what happened and what happened with him, how he's in a coma and the hospital was overrun. Shane telling them that, yeah, I got overrun. And later on in the night, Lori and Rick, of course, they get together and they put Carl to sleep. They get together, and Shane's outside on the RV just looking at the tent, just looking at it, just basically jealous. The next morning, everyone gets up. Rick, everyone's up. Carol's washing Rick's clothes. They start to talk about Daryl Dixon to see what they were going to do with him, because his brother Merle Dixon is just up there on a roof. They don't know that he is later on gone. But yeah, they start talking about that. Then they hear a noise, which is Sophia and Carl. They're screaming because there's a walker eating a deer over there. It's probably like a mile, not even a mile, less than a mile away from the camp that they're staying at. And Dale, Jim, Rick, Shane, T-Dog, I believe, they all go over there and they start beating down the zombie. Like, they don't know they have to shoot it in the head or hit it in the head. I don't think they basically really know, or they're just in that moment, they're not really thinking. But other than that, like, they weren't really thinking out this process. Like, we just killed zombies, hitting them in the head like yesterday, and now we're just beating it down like we're in a gang. It's weird. But Dell ends up chopping the head off of the zombie, and the zombie it's dead now basically. Well, not fully, because you still had to hit it in the head. Just because you cut off the head doesn't mean it's dead, right? So Daryl comes out and he's mad because the zombie was basically eating the deer that he caught, and he wanted to cook up some venison for the group and everything. He got squirrels too, so he's basically the hunter of the group. He's basically you could say later down the line you're gonna see him as being one of the best characters of The Walking Dead. Daryl, he ends up killing the zombie because he reanimates his head. It reanimates and everything, but he ends up killing the zombie. They all go back to camp, and Shane's telling him, Daryl, wait to tell you something. But Rick, he steps in. He's like, we left your brother in Atlanta, and he was a danger to the group, but we had to do it. There was really no choice. We had no other choice. And of course, Daryl, he gets mad because it's his brother. He doesn't really fully understand the situation, and he starts to go at Rick with his Bowie knife, and he starts to go at Shane, but then Shane gets him in a chokehold, and then they finally have a reasonable conversation, and Rick tells him that basically they're gonna go back to Atlanta and they're gonna get his brother. But it's not just for that reason. Also, there's another reason that Rick, he wants to go back to get the guns that he ended up dropping when he was swarmed by zombies. And of course, Shane sees that as an advantage. Like, he wants the guns, but of course, Lori, knowing Rick just got back, knowing that she may never see him again, doesn't want him to go. So it's like Lori's kind of following. She's kind of siding with Shane because Shane doesn't want Rick to go, but Shane does inside because of the weapons, you know. But Lori is taking Shane's side, and Rick's just trying to convince her. But either way, Rick's gonna go no matter what to save the man because it's the humane thing to do, you know. And Lori, she's upset. She's gonna stay upset for a little while. It doesn't really matter because Rick's doing the right thing for the group and for his people, and it's the beginning of his leadership basically. Shane gives him 4 rounds for his python. He says it's ironic that there's 4 rounds and there's 4 guys are going back to Atlanta, which is T-Dog, Glenn, Rick, and Daryl going back to Atlanta to save Merle and get the bag of guns. There's another scene with Andrea, Amy, Jackie, and Carol. They're by the lake. They're washing everyone's clothes, and Ed hears them talking, basically just laughing and having a good time, and he doesn't like that. He's a wife beater. He takes it out on his kids, his wife. He tries to be the boss in every situation. But Shane is also showing Carl how to catch the frogs and everything like that. There's also with Lori. Lori tells Carl to go back to camp and tells Shane to stay away from her family, stay away from her, don't come near them, that he told her that Rick was dead. And I mean, I don't blame Shane for saying that because what he saw, which we're going to see later, is basically the hospital getting overrun, the military just killing everyone, and Lori doesn't know that. She just believes that Shane lied to her just to get with her, basically. You know, so that's that scene right there. So, you know, Shane's a little upset. Ed ends up telling Carol, like, let's go. You need to come now. Like, you don't need to be here with these people. And Carol, she gets up, like, she's basically she's just listening to her husband. She doesn't want any problems. She doesn't want to get beat up or hit or anything like that. And she ends up going, but then Andrea's like, no, Carol, you stay right here. She ends up grabbing Carol's arm, but then Ed ends up slapping Carol. So Shane comes running up behind Ed, and he ends up almost beating Ed, like, nearly to death. Like, he beats him so bad that he could barely even talk. He's slurring while he's talking. And Carol, of course, is like this is like a symptom, like when your husband's getting beat up and you love your husband no matter what. And Carol, seeing that she's crying, she wants to go protect her husband and all that kind of stuff, which is dumb, but you know, that's kind of the things that happen during those type of relationships. Well, the last scene in the show is where Rick, Daryl, Glenn, and T-Dog are at Atlanta. They're back on the roof of where they were, and they see Merle's hand severed from his body. His body's not there, but the hand's there, just with the handcuffs just still hanging on the pipe, which is crazy. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you who watch The Walking Dead knows what happens after this later down the line. But it's for good thing. It's for some crazy things to come. So yeah, guys, that's my episode, my review for the episode. I'm gonna give this probably, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 because it's slower pace. I wish they really kept it faster pace like the other 2 episodes, but other than that, it was a pretty solid episode. I'm gonna leave a icon right here so you can click. Make sure you hit that like button and come back and check back for more.